ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 29 on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Parmahamsa. This video starts with chapter 28 at the Star Theatre, Friday, September 19, 1884. It was Mahalaya, a sacred day of the Hindus and the day of the new moon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room with Mahendra Mukherjee, Priya Mukherjee, M. Baburam, Harish, Kishori, and Latu. Some were sitting on the floor, some standing, and others moving about. Hajra was sitting on the porch. Rakhal was still at Vrindavan with Balram. Master praises captain's devotion. Master to the devotees. I was at captain's house in Calcutta. It was very late when I returned. What a sweet nature captain has. What devotion. He performed the arti before the image. First he waves a lamp with 3 lights, then a lamp with 1 light, and last of all he waves burning camphor. When performing the worship he does not speak. Once he motioned to me to take my seat. During the worship his eyes become swollen from spiritual emotion. They look as if they have been stung by wasps. He cannot sing, but he chants hymns beautifully in his mother's presence. He sits on a lower level, she sits on a high stool. His father was a Havildar in the English army. He would hold a gun with one hand and with the other worship Shiva. His servant made a clay image of Shiva for him. He would not even touch water before performing the worship. He earned 6,000 rupees a year. Captain sends his mother to Banaras now and then. 12 or 13 servants attend her there. It is very expensive. Captain knows the Vedanta, the Gita and the Bhagavata by heart. He says that the educated gentlemen of Calcutta follow the ways of the Malechhas. In his early years, he practiced Hatha Yoga. That's why he strokes my head gently when I am in Samadhi. His wife worships the deity in another form, that of Gopala. This time I did not find her so miserly. She too knows the Gita and other scriptures. What devotion they have. They cooked a goat curry. Captain said they could eat it for 15 days, but she said no, no, only 7 days. But I liked the taste of it. They serve a very small quantity of each dish, but nowadays they give me good portions since I eat more than they do. After the meal, either captain or his wife thanks me. They are very pious souls and show great respect to holy men. The people of Upper India are greatly devoted to sadhus. The sons and nephews of the Jang Bahadur of Nepal once visited the temple garden. Before me they showed great respect and humility. Once a young girl of Nepal came to see me with Captain. She was a great devotee and unmarried. She knew the whole of the Gita Govinda by heart. Dwarika Babu and the others wanted to hear her music. When she sang the Gita Govinda, Dwarika Babu was profoundly moved and wiped the tears from his eyes with his handkerchief. She was asked why she was not married. She said, I am the handmaid of God. Whom else shall I serve? Her people respect her as a goddess, as the scriptures enjoin. To Mahendra Mukherjee and the others, I shall feel very happy to know that you are being benefited by your visits here. To M, why do people come here? I don't know much of reading and writing. M, God's power is in you. That is why there is such power of attraction. It is the divine spirit that attracts. Master, yes, this is the attraction of Yogamaya, the divine Shakti. She casts the spell. God performs all his Leela through the help of Yogamaya. Nature of Gopis' love for Krishna. The love of the Gopis was like the attachment of a woman to her paramour. They were intoxicated with ecstatic love for Sri Krishna. A woman cherishing illicit love is not very keen about her own husband. If she is told that her husband has come, she will say, what if he has? There is food in the kitchen, he can help himself. But if she is told of the arrival of a stranger jovial, handsome and witty, she will run to see him and peep at him from behind a screen. You may raise an objection and say, we have not seen God, how can we feel attracted to Him as the gopis felt attracted to Krishna? But it is possible. I do not know Him. I have only heard His name, and that has fixed my mind upon Him. A devotee, sir, what is the significance of Sri Krishna's stealing the gopis' clothes? Master, there are 8 fetters that bind a person to the world. The gopis were free from all but one shame. Therefore Krishna freed them from that one to by taking away their clothes. On attaining God, one gets rid of all fetters. To Mahendra Mukherjee and the others, by no means all people feel attracted to God. There are special souls who feel so. To love God, one must be born with good tendencies. Otherwise, why should you alone of all the people of Bagh Bazar come here? You can't expect anything good in a dunghill. The touch of the Malaya breeze turns all trees into sandalwood, no doubt, but there are a few exceptions, the banyan, the cotton tree, and the aswatha, for example. To the Mukherjee brothers, you are well off. If a man slips from the path of yoga, then he is reborn in a prosperous family and starts again his spiritual practice for the realization of God. Unfulfilled desires make one deviate from yoga. Mahendra, why does one slip from the path of yoga? Master, while thinking of God, the aspirant may feel a craving for material enjoyment. It is this craving that makes him slip from the path. In his next life, he will be born with the spiritual tendencies that he failed to translate into action in his present life. Mahendra, then what is the way? Master, no salvation is possible for a man as long as he has desire. As long as he hankers for worldly things, therefore fulfill all your desires regarding food, clothes, and sex. Smiling, what do you say about the last one? Legitimate or illegitimate? M and Mahendra laugh. It is not good to cherish desires and hankerings. For that reason, I used to fulfill whatever desires came to my mind. Once I saw some colored sweetmeats at Bara Bazaar and wanted to eat them. They brought me these sweets and I ate a great many. The result was that I fell ill. In my boyhood days, in my boyhood days, while bathing in the Ganges, I saw a boy with a golden ornament around his waist. During my state of divine intoxication, I felt a desire to have a similar ornament myself. I was given one, but I could not keep it on very long. When I put it on, I felt within my body the painful uprush of a current of air. It was because I had touched gold to my skin. I wore the ornament a few moments and then had to put it aside. Otherwise, I should have had to tear it off. I once felt a desire to eat the famous sweetmeats of different cities of love. I had a desire to hear Shambhu's musical recital of the Chandi. After fulfilling that desire, I wanted to hear the same thing by Raj Narayan. That desire also was satisfied. At the time, many holy men used to visit the temple garden. A desire arose in my mind that a desire arose in my mind that there should be a separate storeroom to supply them with their provisions. Mathur Babu arranged for one. The sadhus were given foodstuffs, fuel, and the like from that storeroom. Once the idea came to me to put on a very expensive robe embroidered with gold and to smoke a silver hubble bubble. Mathur Babu sent me the new robe and the hubble bubble. I put on the robe. I also smoked the hubble bubble in various fashions. Sometimes I smoked it reclining this way and sometimes that way, sometimes with the head up and sometimes with the head down. Then I said to myself, oh mind, this is what they call smoking a silver hubble bubble. Immediately I renounced it. I kept the robe on my body a few minutes longer and then took it off. I began to trample it underfoot and spit on it, saying, so this is an expensive robe, but it only increases man's rajas. About Rakhal. Rakhal had been staying at Vrindavan with Balram. At first he had written excited letters praising the holy place. He had written to M. It is the best of all places. Please come here. The peacocks dance around and one always hears and sees religious music and dancing. There is an unending flow of divine bliss. But then Rahal had been laid up with an attack of fever. Sri Ramakrishna was very much worried about him and vowed to worship the Divine Mother for his recovery. So he began to talk about Rakhal. Master, Rakhal had his first religious ecstasy while sitting here massaging my feet. A Bhagavata scholar had been expounding the sacred book in the room. As Rakhal listened to his words, he shuddered every now and then. Then he became altogether still. His second ecstasy was at Balram Bose's house. In that state, he could not keep himself sitting upright. He lay flat on the floor. Rakhal, belonging to the realm of the personal God. He leaves the place if one talks about the impersonal. I have taken a vow to worship the Divine Mother when he recovers. You see, he has renounced his home and relatives and completely surrendered himself to me. It was I who sent him to his wife now and then. He still had a little desire for enjoyment. Pointing to M. Rakhal has written him from Vrindavan that it is a grand place, the peacocks dance around. Now let the peacocks take care of him. He has really put me in a fix. Balram's devotion. Rakhal has been staying with Balram at Vrindavan. Ah, what a nice nature Balram has. It is only for my sake that he does not go to Orissa, where his family owns an estate. His brother stopped his monthly allowance and wrote to him, come and stay with us here. Why should you waste so much money in Calcutta? But he did not listen. He has been living in Calcutta because he wants to see me. What devotion to God! He is busy day and night with his worship. His gardener is always making garlands of flowers for the deity. He has decided to spend 4 months a year at Vrindavan to reduce his expenses. He gets a monthly allowance of 200 rupees. Why am I so fond of the youngsters? They are still untouched by woman and gold. I find that they belong to the class of the Nityasiddhas, the ever perfect. Narendra's first visit. When Narendra first came here, he was dressed in dirty clothes, but his eyes and face betokened some inner stuff. At the time, he did not know many songs. He sang one or two. Let us go back once more, O mind, to our own abode. And, O Lord, must all my days pass by so utterly in vain? Whenever he came here, I would talk only with him. Though the room was filled with people, he would say to me, please walk to them, and then I would talk with the others. I came mad for the sight of him and wept for him in Jadoo Malik's garden house. I wept here too, holding Bholanath's hand. Bholanath said, Sir, you should not behave that way for a mere Kaistha boy. One day the fat Brahmin said to me about Narendra with folded hands, Sir, he has very little education. Why should you be so restless for him? Bhavnath and Narendra are a pair. They are like man and woman. So I asked Bhavnath to rent a house near Narendra. Both of them belong to the realm of the formless reality. Master warned the devotees about women. I forbid the youngsters to spend a long time with women or visit them too frequently. Haripada has fallen into the clutches of a woman of the Ghospada sect. She shows maternal feeling for him, But Haripada is a child and does not understand its real meaning. The women of that sect act that way when they see young boys. I understand that Haripada lies on her lap and that she feeds him with her own hands. I shall tell him that this is not good. This very maternal feeling leads to a downfall. The women of that sect practice spiritual discipline in the company of man. They regard man as Krishna. A teacher of that sect asks a woman devotee, have you found your Krishna? And she says, yes, I have found my Krishna. The other day that woman came here, I watched the way she looked around and I did not approve of it. I said to her, you may treat Haripada any way you like, but don't have any wrong feeling for him. The youngsters are now in the stage of sadhana. They are aspirants. For them, the only thing now is renunciation. A sannyasi must not look even at the portrait of a woman. I say to them, don't sit beside a woman and talk to her, even if she is a devotee. You may say a word or two to her, standing. Even a perfect soul must follow this precept for his own protection and also to set an example to others. When women come to me, I too say to them after a few minutes, go and visit the temples. If they don't get up, I myself leave the room. Others still learn from my example. Master's attraction for people. Can you tell me why all these youngsters and you people to visit me? There must be something in me, or why should you all feel such a pull, such attraction? His own reminiscences. Once I visited Hirde's house at Sihor. From there I was taken to Sham Bazar. I had a vision of Gauranga before I entered the village, and I realized that I should meet Gauranga's devotees there. For 7 days and nights I was surrounded by a huge crowd of people. Such attraction, nothing but kirtan and dancing day and night. People stood in rows on the walls and even were in the trees. I stayed at the Natwar Goswami's house. It was crowded day and night. In the morning I would run away to the house of a weaver for a little rest. There too I found that people would gather after a few minutes. They carried drums and cymbals with them and the drum constantly played takuti, takuti. We would have our meal at 3 in the afternoon. The rumor spread everywhere that a man had arrived who died 7 times and came back to life again. Here they would drag me away from the crowd to a paddy field for fear I might have an attack of heat apoplexy. The crowd would follow us there like a line of ants. Again the cymbals and the never-ending tikuti of the drums. Here they scolded them and said, why do you bother us like this? Have we never heard Kirtan? The Vaishnava priest of the village came and almost started a quarrel. They thought I would take their share of the feast from the devotees, but soon they discovered that I did not touch a piece of cloth or even a thread. Someone remarked that I was a Brahmajani, so the Vaishnava Pandits wanted to test me. One said, why has not he, why has not he beads and a mark on his forehead? Another of them replied, they have dropped from him as the dry branch from a coconut tree. It was there that I learned this illustration of the dry branch of a coconut tree. The Upadhi's limitations drop when one attains knowledge. People came thronging from distant villages. They even spent the night there. At Sham Bazar, I learned the meaning of divine attraction. When God incarnates himself on earth, he attracts people through the help of Yoga Maya, his divine power. People become spellbound. It was about there. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The master had been conversing with the Mukherjee brothers and the other devotees when Radhika Goswami, a Vaishnava scholar, arrived and bowed before him. This was his first visit to the master. Radhika Goswami took a seat. Master, are you a descendant of Advaita Goswami? Yes, sir. At this, the master saluted him with folded hands. Master, you are descended from Advaita Goswami. You must have inherited some of his traits. A sweet mango tree produces only sweet mangoes, arid, not sour ones. Of course, it happens that some trees produce large mangoes and some small. That depends on the soil. Is not that true? Goswami humbly, sir, what do I know? Master, whatever you may say, others will not let you off so easily. Brahmins, however imperfect they may be, are worshipped by all on account of their having been born in the lines of great sages. To M. Tell us that story of the Samkhachila. M. Sat in a silence. Master, if one of your ancestors was a great soul, he will certainly pull you up, however unworthy you may be. When King Duryodhana and his brothers were taken captive by the Gandharvas, Yudhishthira released them in spite of the fact that King Duryodhana was his enemy and had banished him to the forest. Besides, one must show respect to the religious garb. Even the mere garb recalls to mind the real object. Chaitanya once dressed an ass in a religious garb and then prostrated himself before it. Why do people bow before a Samkhachila? When Kansa was about to kill the Divine Mother, she flew away, taking the form of a Samkhachila. So even now people salute the bird. An Englishman arrived at the cantonment of Chanak. The spies saluted him. Kaur Singh explained to me, India is under the rule of the English. Therefore, one should salute an Englishman. The Shaktas follow the Tantra and the Vaishnavas the Purana. There is no harm for the Vaishnavas in speaking publicly of their spiritual practices, but the Shaktas maintain secrecy about theirs. For this reason, it is difficult to understand a Shakta. To Goswami, you are all good people. How much japa you practice, how much you chant the name of Hari. Goswami humbly, oh no, we do very little. I am a great sinner. Master smiling, you have humility, that is good, but there is also another way. I chant the name of Hari. How can I be a sinner? He who constantly repeats I am a sinner, I am a wretch, verily becomes a sinner. What lack of faith! A man chants the name of God so much and still he talks of sin. Radhika Goswami listened to these words in amazement. Masters following of different paths. Master, at Vrindavan I myself put on the garb of the Vaishnavas. and wore it for 15 days to the devotees. I have practiced the disciplines of all the paths, each for a few days. Otherwise, I should have found no peace of mind. Smiling, I have practiced all the disciplines. I accept all paths. I respect the Shaktas, the Vaishnavas, and also the Vedantists. Therefore, people of all sects come here, and every one of them thinks that I belong to his school. I also respect the modern Brahmgyanis. A man had a tub of dye. Such was its wonderful property that people could dye their clothes any color they wanted by merely dipping them in it. A clever man said to the owner of the tub, "Dye my clothes to the color of your dye stuff." All laughed. Why should I be one-sided? The idea that the people of a particular sect will not come to me does not frighten me. I don't care a bit whether people come to me or not. The thought of keeping anyone under my control never crosses my mind. Adhar Sen asked me to ask the Divine Mother for a big position for him, but he did not get it. If that makes him think differently about me, what do I care? Once at Kesav's house, I found myself in a new mood. The Brahmos always speak of the impersonal. Therefore, I said to the Divine Mother in an ecstatic mood, "Mother, please don't come here. They don't believe in your forms." Radhika Goswami listened to these words of the Master against sectarianism and remained silent. Master's praise of Vijay Goswami. After smiling, Vijay is in a wonderful state of mind nowadays. He falls to the ground while chanting the name of Hari. He devotes himself to kirtan, meditation, and other spiritual practices till 4 in the morning. He now puts on an ochre robe and prostrates himself before the images of God. Once he accompanied me to Gadadhar's schoolhouse. I pointed out that the place where Gadadhar used to meditate. At once Vijay prostrated himself there. Again he fell prostrate before the picture of Chaitanya Deva. Goswami, what about the image of Radha Krishna? Master, he prostrated himself there too. Vijay also follows all the conventions of religious life. Goswami, he can now be accepted in Vaishnava society. Master, people's opinions don't count for much with him. Goswami, I don't mean that by accepting him Vaishnava society will honor itself. Master, he respects me very much, but it is difficult to reach him. One day he is called to Dhaka, the next day to some other place. He is always busy. His presence has created great trouble in the Sadharan Brahmos Mas. Goswami, why so, sir? Master, the Brahmos tell him, "You mix with people who worship God with form. You are an idolater." Vijay is liberal and straightforward. Unless a man is guileless, he does not receive the grace of God. Sri Ramakrishna talked to the Mukherjee brothers. Mahendra the elder had his own business. Priyanath the younger had been an engineer. After making some provision for himself, he had given up his job. Mahendra was 35 or 36 years old. The brothers had homes both in the country and in Calcutta. Master smiling, don't sit idle simply because your spiritual consciousness has been awakened a little. Go forward beyond the forest of sandalwood. There are other and more valuable things, silver mines, gold mines, and so on. Bondage and freedom are of the mind. Pedia smiling. Sir, our legs are in chains. We cannot go forward. Master, what if the legs are chained? The important thing is the mind. Bondage is of the mind and freedom is also of the mind. Listen to a story. There were two friends. One went into a house of prostitution and the other to hear a recital of the Bhagavata. What a shame, thought the first. My friend is hearing spiritual discourse, but just see what I have slipped down to. The second friend said to himself, shame on me. My friend is having a good time, but how stupid I am. After death, the soul of the first was taken to Vaikuntha by the messenger of Vishnu, while that of the second was taken to the nether world of Yama, Priya. But the mind is not under my control. Master, how is that? There is such a thing as Abhisya Yoga, Abhyasa Yoga, yoga through practice. Keep up the practice and you will find that your mind will follow in whatever direction you lead it. The mind is like a white cloth just returned from the laundry. It will be red if you dip it in red dye and blue if you dip it in the blue. It will have whatever color you dip it in. To Goswami. Have you anything to ask, Goswami? No, sir, I am satisfied that I have seen you and have been I listening to your words, Master. Go and visit the temples, Goswami, very humbly. Won't you please sing something about Sri Chaitanya? The master complied. He sang, why has my body turned so golden? It is not time for this to be. Many the ages that must pass before as Gauranga I appear. Gauranga appear. Gora gazes at Vrindavan and tears stream from his eyes. In an exuberance of joy, he laughs and weeps and dances and sings. He takes a wood for Vrindavan, the ocean for the blue jamun. He rolls on the ground for love of Hari. After singing, the master went on with the conversation. Master to Goswami, I have sung these songs to suit your Vaishnava temperament, but I must sing differently when the Saktas or others come. Here people of all sects come, Vaishnavas, Saktas, Kartabhajas, Vedantists and also members of the modern Brahmo Samaj. Therefore one finds here all ideals and attitudes. It is by the will of God that different religions and opinions have come into existence. God gives to different people what they can digest. The mother does not give fish pilau to all her children. All cannot digest it, so she prepares simple fish soup for some. Everyone cherishes his own special ideal and follows his own nature. They provide various images for the brewery, because people of different sects assemble at it. You see their images of Radha Krishna, Shiva, Durga and Sita Rama, different images in different places. A crowd gathers before each image. The Vaishnavas spend most of their time before the image of Radha Krishna, the Saktas before Shiva Durga and the devotees of Rama before Sita Rama. But it is quite different with those who are not spiritually minded at all. In the brewery, one sees another image also a prostitute beating her paramour with a broomstick. Those people stand there with gaping mouths and cry to their friends, "What are you looking at over there? Come here, look at this," all laugh. Radhika Goswami saluted the master and took his leave. It was about 5 o'clock. The master was on the semicircular west porch. Baburam, Latu, and Mukherjee brothers and some other devotees were with him. Master too and the others. Why should I be one-sided? The Goswamis belong to the Vaishnava school and are very bigoted. They think that their opinion alone is right and all other opinions are wrong. My words have hit him hard, smiling. One must strike the elephant on the head with the goad. That is the elephant's most sensitive spot. Then Sri Ramakrishna told a few naughty jokes for the young man. Master to the devotees, I do not give the youngsters a pure vegetarian diet. Now and then I give them a little water smelling of fish. Otherwise, why should they come? The Mukherjee brothers left the porch. They went to the garden for a stroll. Master to M. I wonder whether the Mukherjees have taken offense at my jokes. And why should they? Captain said that you are like a child. After realizing God, a man becomes childlike. Master, yes, and sometimes he behaves like a boy and sometimes like a young man. As a boy, he is very light-hearted. He may use frivolous language. As a young man, he is like a roaring lion while teaching others. You had better explain my state of mind to the Mukherjees. And I don't have to do that. Have not they the sense to see it? Again the master became light-hearted with the boys. Then he said to one of the devotees, Today is the new moon. Go to the Kali temple in the evening. It was dusk. They heard the sound of gongs, cymbals, and other instruments used in the evening service in the temples. The master said to Baburam, Come with me to the Kali temple. He and Baburam went towards the temple, accompanied by M. At the sight of Hari sitting on the porch, the master said, What is this? Is he in ecstasy? Going through the courtyard, the master and the devotees stopped a minute in front of the Radha Kanta temple to watch the worship. Then they proceeded to the shrine of Kali. With folded hands, the master prayed to the Divine Mother, O Mother, O Mother, O Divine Mother, O Brahmamai. Reaching the raised platform in front of the shrine, he bowed low before the image. The arti was going on. He entered the shrine and found the image. The evening worship was over. The devotees bowed before the deity. It was the night of the new moon. The master was in a spiritual mood. Gradually, gradually his mood deepened into intense ecstasy. He returned to his room, reeling like a drunkard and holding to Baburam's hand. Master's prayer to Divine Mother. A lamp was lighted on the west porch. The master sat there a few minutes chanting Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, and other mystic syllables of the Tantra. Presently, he returned to his room and sat on the small couch facing the east. He was still completely Absorbed in divine fervor, he said to the Divine Mother, Mother, that I should first speak and you then act on. That's nonsense. What is the meaning of talk? It is nothing but a sign. One man says, I shall eat. Again another says, no, I won't hear of it. Well, mother, suppose I had said I would not eat. Would not I still feel hungry? Is it ever possible that you should listen only when one prays aloud and not when feels an inner longing? You are what you are. Then why then why do I speak? Why do I pray? I do as you make me do. Oh, what confusion! Why do you make me reason? As Sri Ramakrishna was thus talking to God, the devotees listened wonderstruck to his words. The master's eyes fell upon them. Master to the devotees, one must inherit good tendencies to realize God. One must have done something, some form of tapasya, either in this life or in another. When Draupadi's clothes were being taken off, she cried earnestly, praying to God. God revealed himself to her and said, try to remember whether you have ever made a gift of a cloth to anyone. Then your modesty will be preserved. Draupadi replied, yes, I remember now. Once a rishi was taking his bath when his loin cloth was carried away by the current. I tore off half of my cloth and gave it to him. Thereupon the Lord said, then you have nothing to fear. M was sitting on the small foot rug. Master to M, you have understood what I said. M, yes, sir. You spoke about inherent tendencies. Master, repeat what I said. M repeated the story of Draupadi. Hajra entered the room. He had been living with Sri Ramakrishna in the temple garden for the past 2 years and had first met the master in 1880 at Sihor in the house of Herde, the master's nephew. Hajra's native village was near Sihor and he owned some property there. He had a wife and children and also some debts. From youth he had felt a spirit of renunciation and sought the company of holy men and devotees. The master had asked him to live with him at Dakshineswar and looked after his necessities. Hajra's mind was a jumble of undigested religious moods. He professed the path of knowledge and disapproved of Sri Ramakrishna's attitude of bhakti and his longing for the young devotees. Now and then he thought of the master as a great soul, but again he slighted him as an ordinary human being. He spent much of his time in telling his beads and he criticized Rakhal and the other young men for their indifference to the practice. He was a strong advocate of religious conventions and rules of conduct and made a fad of them. He was about 38 years old. As Hajra came in, the master became a little abstracted and in that mood began to talk. Master to Hajra, what you are doing is right in principle, but the application is not quite correct. Don't find fault with anyone, not even with an insect. As you pray to God for devotion, so also pray that you may not find fault with anyone. Hajra, does God listen to our prayer for bhakti? Master, surely I can assure you of that 100 times, but the prayer must be genuine and earnest. Do worldly minded people weep for God as they do for wife and children? At Kamar Pukur, the wife of a certain man fell ill. The man thought she would not recover. He began to tremble and was about to faint. Who feels that way for God? Hazra was about to take the dust of the master's feet. Master shrinkingly, what is this? Hazra, why should I not take the dust off his feet who has so kindly kept me with him? Master, satisfy God and everyone will be satisfied. If he is pleased, the world is pleased. Once the Lord ate a few grains from Draupadi's cooking pot and said, "Ah, I am satisfied." Immediately the whole world and all its living beings were satisfied. They felt as if they had eaten their fill. But was the world satisfied, or did it feel that way when the rishis ate their food? To Hazra, a perfect soul, even after attaining knowledge, practices devotions, or observes religious ceremonies to set an example to others. I go to the Kali temple and I bow before the holy pictures in my room, therefore others do the same. Further, if a man has become habituated to such ceremonies, he feels restless if he does not observe them. One day I saw a sannyasi under the banyan tree. He had put the salagram on the same carpet with his guru's sandals. He was worshipping them. I said to him, if you have attained knowledge to the extent, then why such normal worship at all? He replied, what difference does it make? Since I do everything else, why not this too? Sometimes I offer the flowers at the Guru's feet and sometimes to God. One cannot renounce work as long as one has a body. As long as there is mud at the bottom of the lake, bubbles will be produced. Advice to Hazra, scriptures and sadhana. To Hazra, if there is knowledge of one, there is also knowledge of many. What will you achieve by mere study of the scriptures? The scriptures contain a mixture of sand and sugar, as it were. It is extremely difficult to separate the sugar from the sand. Therefore, one should learn the essence of the scriptures from the teacher or from a sadhu. Afterwards, what does one care for books? To the devotees, gather all the information and the plunge in it, and then plunge in it. Suppose a pot has dropped in a certain part of a lake, locate the pot and dive there. One should learn the essence of the scriptures from the Guru and then practice sadhana. If one rightly follows spiritual discipline, then one directly sees God. The discipline is said to be rightly followed only when one plunges in. What will a man gain by merely reasoning about the words of the scriptures? Ah, the fools! They reason themselves to death over information about the path. They never take the plunge. What a pity! You may say, even though you dive deep, you are still in danger of sharks and crocodiles, of lust and anger. But dive, but dive after rubbing your body with a turmeric powder, then sharks and crocodiles will not come near you. The turmeric is discrimination and renunciation. Master the spiritual practice. To the devotees, God made me pass through the disciplines of various paths, first according to the Purana, then according to the Tantra. I also followed the disciplines of the Vedas. At first, I used sadhana in the Panchavati. I made a grove of tulsi plants and used to sit inside it and meditate. Sometimes I cried with a longing heart, Mother, Mother, or I again, Rama, Rama. While repeating the name of Rama, I sometimes assumed the attitude of Hanuman and fixed it till to the lower end of my backbone. I was in a god intoxicated stage at the time. I used to put on a silk robe and worship the deity. What joy I experienced in that worship! I practiced the discipline of the Tantra under the Bale tree. At that time, I could see no distinction between the sacred Tulsi and any other plant. In that state, I sometimes ate the leaving from a jackal's meal, food that had been exposed the whole night, part of which might have been eaten by snakes or other creatures. Yes, I ate that stuff. Sometimes I rode on a dog and fed him with luchi. Also, eating part of the bread myself, I realized that the whole world was filled with God alone. One cannot have spiritual realization without destroying ignorance. So I would assume the attitude of a tiger and devour ignorance. While practicing the disciplines of the Vedas, I became a sannyasi. I used to lie down in the Chandni and say to Hriday, I am a sannyasi, I shall take my meals here. I vowed to the Divine Mother that I would kill myself if I did not see God. I said to her, O Mother, I am a fool. Please teach me what is contained in the Vedas, the Puranas, the Tantras, and other scriptures. The mother said to me, the essence of the Vedanta is that Brahma alone is real and the world illusory. The Satchitananda Brahma described in the Vedas is the Satchitananda Shiva of the Tantra and the Satchitananda Krishna of the Puranas. The essence of the Gita is what you get by repeating the word 10 times. It is reversed into Tagi, which indicates renunciation. After the realization of God, how far below lie the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Purana, the Tantra? To Hajra, I cannot utter the word Om in Samadhi. Why is that? I cannot say Om unless I come down very far from the state of Samadhi. I had all the experiences that one should have according to the scriptures. After one's direct perception of God, I behaved like a child, like a madman, like a ghoul, and like an inert thing. I saw the visions described in the scriptures. Sometimes I saw the universe filled with sparks of fire. Sometimes I saw all the quarters glittering with light as if the world were a lake of mercury. Sometimes I saw the world as if made of liquid silver. Sometimes again I saw all the quarters illumined as if with the light of Raman candles. So you see my experiences telling tally with those described in the scriptures. It was revealed to me further that God Himself has become the universe and all its living beings and the 24 cosmic principles. It is like the process of evolution and involution. Oh, what a state God kept me in at the time. One experience would hardly be over before another overcame me. It was like the moment of the husking machine. No sooner is one end down than the other goes up. I would see God in meditation in the state of samadhi, and I would see the same God when my mind came back to the outer world. When looking at this side of the mirror, I would see Him alone, and when looking on the reverse side, I saw the same God. The devotees listened to these words with rapt attention. To the Mukherjee brothers, Captain is now really in the state of the sadhaka, that the mere possession of wealth should create attachment is by no means true. Shambhu Malik used to say to Hriday, Hridev, I have packed my things and am ready for the journey. I said to him, God forbid, why do you say such ominous words? No, replied Shambhu, please bless me that I may cast aside all these possessions and go to God. God's devotees have nothing to fear. They are His own, He always stands by them. Once Duryodhana and his brothers were imprisoned by the Gandharvas. It was Yudhishthira who freed them. Yudhishthira said, if our relatives are placed in such a plight, then it is our disgrace. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. The Mukherjee brothers were ready to return to Calcutta. The master left his seat and began to pace the room and the porch. He could hear the kirtan sung in the Vishnu temple. A devotee said that Harish and Latu were in the singing party. Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees went to the Vishnu temple and saluted the deity. The Brahmins belonging to the staff of the temple garden and also the priest, the cooks and the servants were singing the kirtan. He stood there a few minutes and encouraged the singers. On the way back to his room, he remarked to the devotees, you see some of them polish the metal utensils and some go to house of prostitution. The master returned to his room and took his seat. Presently the singers came and bowed low before him. The master said to them, one should perspire dancing and singing the name of God, as people do earning money. I had thought of joining you in the dancing, but I found that you did everything very well. You had flavored the curry with all the seasoning. What could I add? It will be nice if you sing devotional songs that way now and then. The Mukherjee brothers saluted the master. Their carriage was ready near the veranda north of the room. The master stood facing the north. On his left was the Ganges. In front of him were the Nahabad, the garden and the Kuthi. And to his right was the road leading to the gate. The night was dark and a devotee had brought a lantern to show the visitors their way. One by one the devotees bowed and took the dust of the master's feet. The carriage seemed too heavily loaded for the horses. The master said, are not there too many people in the carriage? Sri Ramakrishna remained standing as the carriage rolled away. The devotees looked back at the master's face beaming with compassion and love. Sunday, September 21, 1884. A large number of devotees were in Sri Ramakrishna's room, among them Ram Mahendra Mukherjee M and Chunilal. Chunilal had just returned from Vrindavan, where he had gone with Rakhal and Balram. The two latter were still there. Nitya Gopal also was staying there. The master began to talk with Chunilal about Vrindavan. Master, how is Rakhal? Chunni, he is quite well now, sir. Master, is not Nitya Gopal coming back? Chunni, he was still there when I left. Master, who will bring your family back? Chunni, Balram Babu told me he would arrange it with some reliable person. He did not mention any name. Master praises Narayan. Sri Ramakrishna then spoke to Mahendra Mukherjee about Narayan, a schoolboy 16 or 17 years old who often visited the master and was very dear to him. Master, he is quite guileless, is not he? The very uttering of the word guileless filled the master with great joy. Mahendra, yes sir, completely guileless. Master, his mother came here the other day. I was a little frightened to see that she was a proud woman. That day she found that Captain, you and many others too visited me. Then she must have realized that she and her son were not the only people to come here. Oh, love, there was some sugar candy in the room and she remarked that it was good. That made her feel there was no scarcity of food here. I happened to tell Babu Ram in front of her to keep some sweets for himself and Narayan. Ganu's mother said that Naren always bothered his mother for the boat hire to come here. His mother said to me, please ask Naren to consent to marry. I replied, all that depends on one's fate. Why should I interfere? All love. Naren is indifferent to his studies. His mother said, please ask him to pay a little more attention. So I said to Naren, attend to your studies. Then his mother said, please tell him seriously, all love. To Chunilal, why does not Gopal come here? Chunilal, he has been suffering from dysentery. Master, is he taking any medicine? Sri Ramakrishna was planning to go to performance of the Chaitanya Leela at the Star Theatre. Mahendra Mukherjee was to take him to Calcutta in his carriage. They were talking about choosing good seats. Some suggested that one could see the performance well from the 1 rupee gallery. Ram said, oh no, I shall engage a box for him. The master laughed. Some of the devotees said that public women take part in the play. They took the parts of Nimai, Nitai and Adak. Master to the devotees, I shall look upon them as the blissful mother herself. What if one of them acts the part of Chaitanya? An imitation custard apple reminds one of the real fruit. Once while going along a road, a devotee of Krishna noticed some Babla trees. Instantly his mind was thrown into ecstasy. He remembered that the wood of Babla trees was used for the handles of the spades that the garden of the temple of Shyama Sundara was dug with. The trees instantly reminded him of Krishna. I was once taken to the Maidan in Calcutta to see a balloon go up. There I noticed a young English boy leaning against a tree with his body bent in 3 places. It at once brought before me the vision of Krishna and I went into Samadhi. Once Chaitanya Deva was passing through a village. Someone told him that the body of the drum used in the kirtan was made from the earth of that village and at once he went into ecstasy. Radha could not control herself at the sight of a cloud or the blue throat of a peacock. It would at once awaken in her mind the thought of Krishna and she would go into ecstasy. The master was silent a few moments and then resumed the conversation. Master, Radha had attained Mahabhava. There was no desire behind the ecstatic love of the gopis. A true lover does not seek anything from God. He prays only for pure love. He doesn't want any powers of miracles. Occult powers. It is very troublesome to possess occult powers. Nangta taught me this by a story. A man who had acquired occult powers was sitting on the seashore when a storm arose. It caused him great discomfort, so he said, let the storm stop. His words could not remain unfulfilled. At that moment, a ship was going full sail before the wind. When the storm ceased abruptly, the ship capsized and sank. The passengers perished, and the sin of causing their death fell to the man. And because of that sin, he lost his occult powers and went to hell. Once upon a time, a sadhu acquired great occult powers. He was vain about them, but he was a good man and had some austerities to his credit. One day the Lord, disguised as a holy man, came to him and said, Revered sir, I have heard that you have great occult powers. The sadhu received the Lord cordially and offered him a seat. Just then an elephant passed by. The Lord, in the disguise of the holy man, said to the sadhu, Revered sir, can you kill this elephant if you like? The sadhu said, Yes, it is possible. So saying, he took a pinch of dust, muttered some mantras over it, and threw it at the elephant. The beast struggled a while in pain and then dropped dead. The Lord said, What power you have? You have killed the elephant. The sadhu laughed. Again the Lord spoke. Now can you revive the elephant? That too is possible, replied the sadhu. He threw another pinch of charmed dust at the beast. The elephant raised about a little and came back to life. Then the Lord said, Wonderful is your power, but may I ask you one thing? You have killed the elephant and you have revived it, but what has that done for you? Do you feel unlifted by it? Has it enabled you to realize God? Seeing this, the Lord vanished. Subtle are the ways of dharma. One cannot realize God if one has even the least trace of desire. A thread cannot pass through the eye of a needle if it has the smallest fiber sticked out, sticking out. Krishna said to Arjuna, Friend, if you want to realize me, you will not succeed if you have even one of the eight occult powers. This is the truth. Occult power is sure to beget pride, and pride makes one forget God. Once a cross-eyed rich man came here. He said to me, You are a Paramahamsa. That is good. You must perform a Swasthayana ceremony for me. What a small-minded person he was. He called me a Paramahamsa and yet wanted me to perform that ceremony to secure welfare by means of the Swasthayana to easy to exercise occult power. An egoist, an egotistic person cannot realize God. Do you know what egotism is like? It is like a high mound where rainwater cannot collect. The water runs off, water collects in low land. These seeds sprout and grow into trees, then the trees bear fruit. Therefore, I say to Hazra, never think that you alone have true understanding and that others are fools. One must love all, no one is a stranger. It is Hari alone who dwells in all beings. Nothing exists without him. The Lord said to Prahlada, Ask a boon of me. I have seen you, replied Prahlada, that is enough. I don't need anything else. But the Lord insisted. Thereupon Prahlada said, If you must give me a boon, let it be that those who have tortured me may not have to suffer punishment. The meaning of those words is that it was God who tortured Prahlada in the form of his persecutors, and if they suffered punishment, it would really be God who suffered. Divine madness. Radha was mad with prema, ecstatic love of God, but there is also the madness of bhakti. Hanuman's was such. When he saw Sita entering the fire, he was going to kill Rama. Then too there is the madness of knowledge. I once saw a Jnani behaving like a madman. He came here very soon after the temple garden was dedicated. People said he belonged to the Brahmo Sabha of Ram Mohan Roy. He had a torn shoes on one foot, a stick in one hand and a potted mango plant in the other. After a dip in the Ganges, he went to the Kali temple where Hardari was seated. With great fervor, he began to chant a hymn to the Divine Mother. Then he went up to a dog, held it by the ear, and ate some of its food. The dog did not mind. Just at that time, I too was about to experience the state of divine madness. I threw my arm around Herday's neck and said, "Oh Herday, shall I too fall into that plight?" So at this point, I conclude this video. Next video number 30 will start with chapter 29, Master's God intoxicated condition. Thank you. Namaste.